We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pape,
Here.
Councilmember Shavetta,
Here.
Councilmember Hands, Councilmember Caldwell,
Here.
Councilmember Leahy,
Here.
Councilmember Neal,
Here.
Councilmember Ryder,
Here.
Councilmember Silvers,
Present.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Here.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item up is public items. Members of the public are encouraged to use this time to make comments about matters that do not appear on the agenda. Comments about items on the regular agenda will be taken up as each item is considered. We did have a blue sign-up sheet, which I have no one on, but is anyone out there would like to come forward, I'll still give you an opportunity. Nobody's rushing to the podium, so we will close out the public items then. Next item up is the consent agenda. All items under this heading are considered to be routine by the City Council, may be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case that item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Considering we only have one item on that, does anybody have any discussion of that before we make a motion to vote on it? Okay, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Caldwell.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion that the council approve consent agenda item 1.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I hear a second? Ms. Ryder.
Mr. Mayor, I second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we have a motion second.
Councilmember Shavetta,
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell,
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy,
Aye.
Councilmember Neal,
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder,
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers,
Aye.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, next item up is the mayor's report, and the first thing is a proclamation for Women's History Month, and I'd like to read that proclamation at this time. Whereas Women's History Month is an annual celebration of the history and accomplishments of women across the world and acknowledges their courage and struggle to attain the same basic human rights as men that still proceeds to this day. And whereas American women of all races and ethnicities fought to not only secure their own suffrage rights and equal opportunity, but also for others in the abolitionist movements, labor rights, voting, and civil rights, which creates a more fair and just society for all. And whereas Women's History Month theme for 2024 is Women Who Advocate for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, and recognizes women throughout the country and understand that for a positive future, we need to eliminate bias and discrimination entirely from our lives and institutions. And whereas the City of Merriam recognizes women throughout our community who have been instrumental in passing our history and heritage in word and print to communicate the lesson of those who came before us. Women's stories expand our understanding and strengthen our connections with each other. Now, therefore, in recognition and honor of the brave, accomplished and influential women who told and continue to tell our stories, I, Bob Pape, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of Merriam, Kansas, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Women's History Month, proclaimed on this 11th day of March 2024. Okay. Very good. And we've had numerous influential women, obviously, in our own community right here, and needless to say, throughout the world. Okay, the next item up, and I have a few other items I'll talk about next, but number 2 is our Park and Recreation Annual Report. We have Director Slocum coming to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Just want to make sure I have this ready. Ready? All right, so it's a pleasure to be here this evening representing the Parks and Recreation Department and being able to share our accomplishments of 2023 with you. Oops. Oh, there it went. Sorry. This presentation is designed to be a snapshot of the memories made at the community center and the community that we have helped build and continue to grow within Merriam. So let's look at the three categories that are part of our department. These have historically been tracked even before my tenure with the department. We can go back and see the participation in our events. Prior to the pandemic, our department historically would average interactions between 75,000 and 85,000 people per year. As you can tell this year, the farmers market has grown 6.5%. Special events has grown by 25.9%. The Merriam Community Center grew by 20.8%. I'd like to take a little bit of time to dive into these numbers and to provide some detail into how we've accomplished these numbers. First, with the Merriam Marketplace. Just as a reminder, this opened in 2001 thanks to an eighth, I always want to say quarter, it's an 8-cent sales tax. It can host 36 vendors. It is available for rent, and in this past year, we had 6 different people rent the pavilion outside of the numerous special events, as well as home to the farmers market. In 2023, besides the 12,000 visitors that visited, there were other accomplishments made. So the season was a 22-week season this year. We averaged 525 vendors. In addition to that, the average number of vendors decreased slightly in 2023, but our attendance increased in 2023 by 51 shoppers per week. For reference, the highest attended year on record is 2016. It was a 23-week season in which we had 17,454 shoppers that year. Keeping the market beautiful is important. Each year, we try and plan improvements throughout the site. Some are more visible than others. As this year, you can see we did a lot of electrical upgrades, not necessarily visible, but we had a good opportunity to take advantage of that through MDL, and we didn't have power surges this year as we had in past. There we go. For a small city, I like to say we do very big things, and we do big things well. With over 20,000 people attending and participating in our 24 special events, 12 of these are art gallery openings, but they count. There seems to be something going on all the time. We will be kicking off our 2024 season with the Turkey Creek Festival on May 18th this year, and we're gearing up and in high speed for that. Staff does a tremendous job planning and implementing these events. Mother Nature, of course, plays a role in how attendance plays out, but we like to say that it's what the fun things we plan. In 2023, we did add a few new events. We added a cruise night and an additional family fun night. This replicates what we were doing prior to the pandemic. We did add a brand new event in 2023. It was the Make Music Day, held on the summer solstice, and that will be again held this year as well. As you can imagine, the last and largest division of our department is the community center. Okay, there it goes. The growth of the community center has been a labor of love, as you all know. Opening during a pandemic is never ideal, but we have hit the ground running since 2022, and there's no looking back. The department is committed to providing quality recreation opportunities to all of its residents. In 2023, a total of $10,784 was provided in scholarship assistance. This was 22 households applied for scholarship assistance, of which 17 completed the registration process. So $9,660 was provided in scholarship assistance out of that $10,784. The Dolphin Fund had 14 families apply, of which 4 completed the registration process. This was 11 children that participated in either the Dolphin swim team or swim lessons. That assistance was $884 of the $10,000. And in 2023, we offered a new scholarship assistance called the Senior Fit Class Pass Scholarship. We had one senior take advantage of that, and that was scholarship assistance of $240. In addition, for Merriam residents, we offered 5 free days. So overall, we try and find something so everybody can take advantage of what we have to offer. To simplify the data, each program is classified into a broad category. So The majority of these did experience growth. You'll notice that the one that did not was adult, and that is because we originally had a class that we thought would be an adult class that transitioned into a 50-plus class. So those people transitioned from being counted as an adult to counted as 50-plus. So youth is up 7%. Adult did drop but it did drop. 50-plus was up 24.7%. Water fitness saw growth of 46.3%. And MCC events, which are Brunch with the Bunny, Breakfast with Santa, the pool party, and movie night, saw growth of 3.9%. Let me remind you that we sell out Breakfast with Santa and Brunch with the Bunny every year, unless we find a different way to offer those programs or 2 sessions, which are constantly in discussion. The growth in those will be dependent on pool party and movie night. But Brunch with the Bunny is already sold out for this year. So if you were going to come, sorry. The numbers presented here, it's important that as we look at this and we look at what does it cost, we can show you the success in numbers, but we know that there's a financial cost to running the community center. So these numbers were reviewed by the finance director, but they are not audited. As anticipated, memberships is our largest revenue generator, followed by programs and rentals. Overall, revenues increased by 22.8%. I carefully look at revenue on a regular basis throughout the month. I'm proud to say that in 2023, all months surpassed 2022 revenues. Some were as early as between the 20th and the 25th of the month. There were 2 months, July and October, that it was like the last day of the month, but we still did it, so it still counts. July, we had a power loss. We lost an entire weekend. So we're hopeful that this year we don't lose power and we're able to do it sooner than the very last day of the month. Expenses, of course, we like to look at our revenues, but we can't run it without our expenses either. So personnel accounts for 64% of the total expenses of the budget. Contracted services, that includes our HVAC, our cleaning repairs, education and travel. General supplies, those are the supplies we need for programs, cleaning supplies, office supplies. Managing expenses is an ongoing challenge as inflation has impacted the cost of doing business. But what does this mean to the community? I've shown you our revenues, I've showed you the expenses. Let's compare them. In 2018, as a baseline, we were subsidized at about $720,000 per year. We averaged, that year we had 55,782 participants in the program. So if you looked at a cost per visitor, it was $12.91 per person, per smile, however you want to look at it. 4 years later, the subsidy has increased to $136,000, but our cost per visitor is less than $4 a person now. Cost per resident, I looked 11,000 residents. So our subsidy cost residents $77.12 for the year, 21 cents a day to support the programs that we offer at the community center. I think that's a telling sign for what we do, to know that every person gets $77. I mean, $77 is all it costs to have that building down there. That's what I have for you tonight. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Director Slocum?
A lot of information very fast, but you had the slides in advance, so I didn't spend a lot of time reading you the information.
For those council members on phone right now, do you have any questions you'd like to pose for Director Slocum?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Great
Thank-
job.
Okay,
All
I
right,
think you did a
thank
good
you.
job. Thank you for your presentation. Okay, well, let's see what else we have here. I have a few other things. I always like to talk about things that are going on that have occurred in the last 2 weeks. I'd like to lead off by saying council members Yadrich, Leahy, and Chavetta are currently, as you can tell, on phone, and they're representing us at the National League of Cities right now. So we hope that you're learning a lot to bring back to make Merriam even greater than we currently are, and have a safe travels on the way home. But they'll be with us for the rest of the evening. Okay, I and Councilmember Hans, Yadrich, Chavetta, Leahy, Neal, and Caldwell all attended the Johnson County Book Relay between the Old Antioch Library and the new Merriam Plaza Library. We also had 447 volunteers that helped show up to pass those books from the old building to the new building. It was nice and a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be included in that. Our gratitude goes out to the Johnson County Library Board and staff for planning the event. As a reminder, there will be a ribbon-cutting ceremony on March 20th at 9 a.m. So if you didn't get a chance to pass the books, at least you get a chance to cut the ribbon. So please come down. Councilmember Silvers, that was easier to say than I thought, attended the Merriam Turkey Creek Drainage Board, and we appreciate you representing us for that. I and Councilmember Hands attended the Harlan Art Exhibit, and I think I've got these numbers right, but 58 artists from 11 states exhibited, was it 81 works of art? Okay. Outstanding display, and there was some great food, again, provided by Director Slocum. It was a great opportunity for artists throughout the United States to show their works here right here in Merriam. So that was very well attended. I attended the Johnson County Kiwanis Club meeting, great civic organization. Those of you that don't know what that is, see me after the meeting, and I'll be glad to introduce you to the Johnson County Kiwanis Club. Okay, I, Mr. Engel, and Director Oliver met with the Johnson County Appraiser Bo Boisevant and his assistant, Kara Endicott. It appears that Merriam has continued to be valued higher than we were last year, but our average property value went up 6.1%, which was much less than some of the other cities. So, we're still seeing a great value. Our actual cost to live in Merriam is better than almost anywhere in the county. So, we try to think that we're still affordable housing in Merriam. Okay, other things, I attended the Johnson County and Wyandotte County Mayor's meeting. It was hosted by Mayor Hepperly over in Fairway. At that meeting, we each discussed what was going on in our current cities, and so we kind of all on the same page. I and Councilmember Yodrich met with Mr. Engel, set the agenda for tonight's meeting, and I reached out to Sean McConnell, and he has agreed to serve as our Art Committee chairperson. As you may recall, Phil Lammers, our previous chair, has resigned, and so we had to find somebody new, and after much arm twisting, he agreed to do that. But it was a great committee, and we're kind of in a new transition phase in reference to there's a Julia Dixon is our consultant, and she's going to be bringing forward the plan very shortly here, and so we'll be able to see what's going to happen and where that art might be placed and what her recommendations are and what the committee's recommendations are as well, because she's been working with the whole committee. In light of kind of some changes and things there, I've asked Councilmember Chavetta to move on to the Art Committee, and I've asked Councilmember Yodrich on the 5701 Committee to move to that committee. So they're swapping roles, and it just made sense at the time with some new chair coming in, and also 5701 is kind of in a lull right now. That in 5701 is in Councilmember Yodrich's district, so both of those individuals have agreed to do that, and I appreciate their both agreeing to that change, and I think it just makes sense, and I think will work out well. That's all I have for the mayor's report. Is there anything else I missed from a council standpoint of things that you might have done? I hear nothing on the phone, so hopefully I got everybody accounted for at that with my report. Okay, next item up is consider approval, this is a council item, of approval of serving alcohol and waiving the caterer's license. We got Director Slocum to tell us all about that.
I think it's Park and Rec night tonight. We're going to
sounds
get some things done. So before you tonight is approval. I'm asking approval to serve alcohol at 2 events in 2024. These are the same events that we serve alcohol at every year. It would be Concert in the Courtyard in Merriam Drive live. As required, I have to come before you, ask permission, and ask for you to waive the caterer's license of $500. This is a temporary license that if they serve at a different event requiring a caterer's license, they would then have to go forward and get that license. But since they're serving on our property for our events, we like to waive that fee for them. So I'm looking for approval to serve alcohol at those 2 events and waive the licensing fee of the caterer's license.
Any questions for Director Slocum? There's nobody from the phone side speaking up. I would entertain a motion, Mr. Caldwell.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve serving of alcohol at 2 city-sponsored and funded events and waive the caterer's license fee in accordance with Chapter 5-191 and 192 of the Merriam Code of Ordinances.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I hear a second? Mr. Silvers.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy. Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Neal. Councilmember Neal.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodridge.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. It looks like you're up for the next one, Director Slocum, for approval of an ordinance authorizing sale, consumption, and possession of alcoholic liquor.
Yes. So now that we have approved that we can serve alcohol at those events, we need to go through the steps of an ordinance approving the sale and consumption and possession of that during MDL. So before you on the screens is the map that we're looking at to as our serving area. We have had this serving area since we started the event in 2018 when it debuted. Knowing that we're going to look at possibly having a cornhole tournament, we're looking at expanding the event with some other activities. We want to make sure we're giving ourselves a broad enough scope so that we can have all the activities we want and people can freely cross the street and walk where they need to walk in order to serve alcohol. So I'm asking, there is an option to waive the first reading. That's up to you. Otherwise, this would just be presented to you tonight as a first reading. But you have the option to waive the first reading and approve an ordinance for the sale and consumption on this site with this boundary map.
Any questions for Director Slocum concerning this? Okay, go ahead.
Just to confirm, the street will be closed during this activity?
Actually, we don't close the street. We have police help us with the crosswalks.
Ms. Ryder?
Is there a reason why you didn't include the entire parking lot of the farmer's market area?
Yes, because people will be parking there,
Makes sense.
and we don't want them taking alcohol to their car. Now, we did use the grass lot last year for parking, and then we can condense it down. But if I don't post and ask for it this way, then I can't make it smaller later.
Good questions. Okay, I would entertain a motion to waive that first reading if it's, all right, somebody, Mr. Caldwell.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council waive the customary first reading of the ordinance authorizing sale of consumption and possession of alcohol liquor during the 2024 Merriam Drive Live event.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second? Ms. Ryder?
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion second, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Neal. Councilmember Neal.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodridge.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Considering we waived the first reading, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Caldwell.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve an ordinance authorizing the sale of and consumption and possession of alcohol liquor during the 2024 Merriam Drive Live event.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I hear a second? Mr. Silvers.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion second, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Neal.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodridge.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, looks like the next item up is consider approval of disposal of remnant city-owned property. All right. Looks like Ms. Gard is going to present this to us.
All right, good evening. This evening, you're being asked to consider disposal of some city-owned property that is considered remnant. Back in 2013, the city purchased property at 9816 West 62nd, excuse me. A small property that had a duplex located on it. The city needed access to the creek for maintenance purposes. That duplex has since been demolished, and a portion of the property sits north of the creek and is only accessible across the creek or across private property. We recognize that while we don't want to cross private property, we really no longer need the north portion of that property for maintenance, and therefore went through a process in late 2023 to dispose of the property by contacting adjacent property owners to see if anybody would be interested. One did come forward with a very low ball price, but we did negotiate a little bit higher on the city's behalf, and so this evening you're being asked to sell the property for $200. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from Ms. Gard? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Silvers.
Just one quick question. I'm pretty familiar with that area, and just out of curiosity, if they're going to be accessing that property from the south, where would they be coming in?
They're accessing their property from the north. It's actually the
north.
property owner that lives right here
I
is
apologize.
purchasing this piece right here. So he'll access it from his property.
Right, but I thought there was something in the packet that the city would still be able to gain access from the south?
Sure, it would be across the creek. We would really need, if we sell it, we would no longer really need access to it. We would no longer be maintaining it. It would go back on the property rolls. Therefore, the owner would currently maintain it.
Okay, any other questions for Ms. Gard? I would entertain a motion. Go
Mr.
ahead,
Mayor?
Mr. Caldwell.
I make a motion that the council approve the sale of track 6B of 9816 West 52nd Street to Mitch Auburn for the amount of $200.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second? Go ahead, Ms. Ryder.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion, second, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodridge.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Neal.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, it looks like we're having a CIP update. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The CIP update is in your package. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I did want to update you briefly on the undergrounding utilities project. We met with Evergy and all the utilities last week, and it went really well. The 50% plans are completed, and then they'll have 100% plans by the end of March, and Evergy's really ready to get going. I don't have a schedule yet, but it's potentially they could start in April. The main thing that we're working on now is north of Shawnee Mission Parkway, west of Antioch. We have the library, and that retaining wall is really close. So trying to work out some details there. So far, so good, and I'll continue to keep you updated.
Awesome. Any questions? Okay, Mr. Silvers, go ahead.
I don't have a question, but a comment. At a recent council meeting, I asked you about the steel plates that were on Antioch around 49th Street, and I just wanted to thank you and your team. I think within a day of me asking that question, the plates were gone.
Thank you. I'd like to take credit, but they don't always respond that quickly, but they did this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, we have in our packets for informational items was the Park and Recreation Advisory Board. I guess we do have somebody who could comment to that. If any questions? No, okay. That was information only. Mr. Engel, do we have anything else from staff this evening?
Just a brief update. Last week, members of staff, members of Merriam Drainage Board, consultants, as well as members of county staff and Water One met with the Corps to discuss updates on our Upper Turkey Creek project. I personally wish we were a little bit further down the road, but we are moving forward. We, as you will recall, in August, we had tasked them with looking at a variety of alternatives to the 2015 plan that would help us accomplish as many of our goals, of the following three goals as possible. One, we wanted to get our businesses out of the floodplain. We wanted to, in turn, then not have businesses have to pay flood insurance. And three, we wanted to make it so that our current and any potential future property owners could develop down there, none of which would occur with just the 2015 plan as currently designed. We are honing in on probably something very similar to the 2015 plan, just with taller walls and berms. They are still kind of refining the model. So again, I wish we were a little bit further, but I know that council knew that we had a meeting and there's members of the public knew we had meetings. So I wanted to make sure to just acknowledge that that meeting has occurred, and we're still running traps on what the best option is to mitigate flood risk in the Upper Turkey Creek. Happy to answer any questions about that or anything else that you may have.
Any
And
questions?
we did update our website, so anybody that has questions about that, we kind of give a brief acknowledgement that we had the meeting and we're still working on it.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. Any questions for Mr. Engel on that or any other topic you might have for him? My only question would be short-term rentals, of where we stand on that.
Sure. We, the Community Development Director and myself have had several conversations about that, and we plan to come back, I believe, on the next meeting with some updates on what other communities are doing in terms of short-term rentals, as well as a couple options if council, we're going to share what we are already regulating relative to short-term rentals, and then kind of, I guess, a menu of options if the council would like to select or mix or match one or two or multiple, or just leave things as they are currently being regulated. So we intend to do that at the next council meeting.
Next council meeting.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. Just for the record, I have had several members in the community reach out to me, and so I'll meet with you later and share what they've shared.
Good deal. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Engel? Here, anybody on the phone line that would like to questions for Mr. Engel? I guess not. Okay. Well, hearing nothing else out there, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Go ahead, Mr. Caldwell.
Mayor, I make the motion that we adjourn.
We have a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Silvers?
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion second. Madam Clerk?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.